know there's people out there that are not happy with the emblem system as it's arrived into the game because of the way that it was packaged inside that Franklin, multiverse saga pack. However, a lot of people have been asking me for a tier list. Now, I can't make a tier list in the traditional sense with Tier Maker because I don't have the icons yet for the different emblems, and I want the icons. So for now, what I have to basically do is I have to do the ugly text version. Now, this is available in the Mega Guides. It's the 5th tab. It's called Emblems, and it's pretty straightforward, and I think I've showed this to you guys in a video already, but I've added a lot more information, and we're going to improve it even more here in this video, but I wanted to detail it for you. So, of course, we have all of the emblems. They are sorted by their category. So you have the Amazing Spider-Man sort of emblem set for Timeline Battle, TLB. You have the Iron Man set for World Boss Ultimate, World Boss Legend, World Boss Legend Plus. And then you have the Shield set for Dimension Rift. So that's what those little bracket, acronyms stand for. Then at the bottom here, they've also been segmented by whether you get them from the regular Doom Boss, the free-to-play Doom Boss, the paid Doom Boss, which is going to be available for crystals in a few months. No, in a month. And then the ones that you have to gamble for. And then down here, I did a little bit of quick math. I highlighted the number of each type. So you have 9 free-to-plays in the Spider-Man, 7 available through the paid content, and then 7 only available via gambling. And then the maximum number of stars that you can get if you are free-to-play. So you can basically look at this and look at the emblem collection and say, okay, I'm free to play, so even if I get all of the emblems that are free to play, the maximum number of stars right now that I can get is 54. And then you go ahead and you look and you say, okay, well, I can get all of these rewards all the way up to 54, right? And so on and so forth. Now, that's cool. That's all well and good, but you also have to know, right, within that, you have to know which artifacts you want to upgrade. And I have the screenshot here to help you guys and to sort of illustrate this point a little bit better. To upgrade a normal artifact, and this is the most difficult one to upgrade, well, in a way, it's the most difficult. It requires the most materials. I'll put it that way. The normal emblems and the way the system works is that the normal emblems, the less rare the emblem is, the more emblem data you need, and the more emblem kits that you need, I believe. Or maybe the emblem kits is the same. But as you go up in rarity, from normal to advanced to heroic to mythic, or to legendary to mythic, the number of emblem data you need shrinks. So I believe you only need like 17 duplicate mythic emblems in order to completely max at level 60, one mythic emblem. Now that still seems like a lot. You're like, how am I going to get 17 dupes? But some mythic emblems drop from missions. So you can already have free missions. So you can already have free extra mythic emblem data because you can never pull, you never pull a dupe. A dupe is always transformed into emblem data, so that is good. Now you can see here it costs, 2,000 emblem data, and if we zoom out, it costs 14 million gold. That sounds like a lot, but keep in mind, this is a one-time thing, right? You're never going to have to touch this emblem again. It's done, and my previous estimation that level 100 was the max level is wrong. It's actually level 60, so it's much, much lower, the cap. But I want to highlight here, the emblem enhancement kits are universal. So whereas the normal emblem data is only for normal emblems, the emblem enhancement kit is for all emblems. So you have to be careful, even for spending players. You have to be careful when you're upgrading your emblems. If you want to just upgrade them as you get resources, that's fine. But what's going to end up happening is it's going to be like a pancake. You're going to spread yourself out really thin and really wide, and you're going to have a bunch of emblems, level 10, level 20, whatever, but you're not going to have any maxed out. Alternatively, what you can do, and this is for my hoarders out there, you can just hoard these materials, right? They only take up like 6 slots in your inventory total, because there's 1 slot for each type of emblem data, so that's 5, and then 1 slot for the emblem enhancement kit, so it's not a lot of space in your inventory. The emblems don't take up any space in your inventory, so don't worry about that. But basically what I want to do is I want to go through and highlight, collection by collection, what the best buffs are, so that you can focus. That's not what I wanted to do, actually. So that you can focus on upgrading the best ones first. And I'll tell you what the whales are doing as well, because I know that people are interested in that. I don't want to overwhelm you guys, so we'll just go one at a time, and I'll zoom in here so you can actually see what the hell's going on. But basically, some of the emblems are just better than others. That's just straight up how it is. But keep in mind, the vast majority of the emblems only apply to one piece of content, right? So That's kind of the big thing here, is that it's only applying to world boss content, or timeline content, or Dimension Rift content. So if we kick it off with the Amazing Spider-Man, you could, and a lot of these buffs, by the way, they get duplicated, they get replicated. So if you see a buff and you sort of don't like it, or you don't think it's valuable, chances are it's not going to be valuable across the board for all of the other emblem collections. Like, for example, dodge is seen in all 3 of the collections. All resistance is seen in all 3 of the collection. Ignore dodge is seen in all of the collections. But yeah, I'll just go through and talk about them one by one. So there's a lot of increase and decrease damage from specific factions. Again, this is all timeline except for the 2 that have the bracket all content. The 2 that have the bracket all content are the Mythic Spider-Man and the Mythic Green Goblin. Those 2, unsurprisingly, are the best to get because they apply to all content. Green Goblin is is easily the best. The best emblem in the game. And again, no surprise here, it's only available for gambling. But yeah, it just gives you a straight 4% all attack to all content. And I think it goes up to like 10 or 12% when you max it out. And believe me, some whales have already maxed it out. So whales are actually targeting the Green Goblin emblem. So they're getting it, and then they're hoarding all of their mythic emblem data. They're hoarding all of their emblem enhancement kits, EEK. And then once they hit that 1050, and they hit the however many emblems you need, which it's way less than 2,000 for mythic, then they just max it out, and so they go from there. So that would be the best one, but obviously that one is paid, right? So it's a lot more difficult to get. You have to gamble for it, so that involves gambling. The other Spider-Man one that is available for all content is literally Spider-Man, and this is available from the Doom boss that you get from the Franklin pack. So right now it's only available to people who bought the pack, but it's much less valuable. It's just instinct 4% attack. And again, I'm not going to cover these again in the other 2 sets because they do reappear. And it's basically the exact same because it applies to all content and it's instinct attack. This is not very good, but it will have a better effect on tier 4s. So I would say if you have like a ton of tier 4s, then maybe you want to consider this one, but I would never consider it over the Green Goblin one. And if you have any intention of gambling for emblems, I'm not telling you to gamble for emblems, by the way. I'm just saying if you have an intention to, I wouldn't upgrade other mythic emblems. I would wait and hoard all of my mythic data in order to dump it all on Green Goblin later. That would be the strategy that I would use if I had any intention of gambling on the set. But let's say you're not going to gamble at all for emblems. You're like, screw this, that's dumb. Where should you be focusing your buffs? For the Spider-Man one, again, for timeline battle, if you are really into timeline battle, you want to look at some of the decreased damage buffs from humans, because this starts at 3%, but it's going to climb up much higher once you get up into like the 4-star, 5-star territory. So that's very good. Also, increasing damage to aliens is also good because it hits a lot of metas. It hits Thanos, it hits Silver Surfer, right? It does tag a lot. One that's kind of a red herring is increasing damage to villains. Increasing damage to Phoenix Force. That seems really good because, like, oh, Jean Grey and Rachel Summers. It's not that good. It's not that good. And keep in mind, it only applies to timeline battle. It doesn't apply to other world battle where you're still going to see these characters. And Jean is honestly, she's on her way out the door right now. So this might be good later in the future when they give her like a tier 5 or whatever. For now, it's not very good. Increasing damage to villains is very good. It's not as good as decreasing damage, but it does hit a broader selection of characters right now. With, you know, Thanos, Silver Surfer, and others, you know, Carnage, etc. So it does hit a lot of characters. But again, remember, this is only for timeline battle. Physical attack is okay if you're running like the Fantastic Four, if you're running Wolverine, but it's not too great. Movement speed is basically useless. All resistance would have been better a year ago when Jean was more meta, but right now there's not a lot of elemental damage in timeline battle and in the meta because, you know, Sentry doesn't do elemental damage, Surfer doesn't do it, Thanos, Wolverine don't do it, Atom doesn't do elemental. Doesn't really matter. Lightning damage obviously doesn't matter. And then dodge, you should try to get that from your cards. It'll probably be easier than getting it from emblems. But it's kind of nice to have if you're very close to the cap. But again, I wouldn't prioritize upgrading it. So honestly, I would say decreasing damage from humans is probably a decent one to look at. I should probably color this a different color here because it's like way too strong. Yeah, red seems like it makes a little bit more sense. That one is good, but again, you have to sort of get the paid set for it. From the paid set, increasing your energy attack is pretty good. decreasing additional pierce damage is also pretty good. Decreasing damage from strong seems good, but there's just not that many good characters in the strong ability tag. Increasing damage to energy projection is good because it hits Adam Warlock and Invisible Woman and a couple of others, but you can get a much higher percentage. You can get 10% on your swords, so just consider that one. Poison damage is useless. And then decreasing damage from males. This is probably the best paid one from the paid set. Very, very strong here. It hits basically all of the meta right now. The meta is like almost fully male, so it does do a lot there. Increasing damage to aliens, like we talked about, it's pretty good, but I don't know if I would give it like the yellow tag. And then from the gambling one, unfortunately, there's some good ones in the gambling category. You have increasing damage to blast. That's pretty good against Adam, pretty good against Madeline, Invisible Woman. So you got some tags here. There's ones here. There's actually 3 increasing elemental damage. It's very poorly worded, the way that these emblems are worded. So I'm not 100%. I'm pretty sure, but I'm not 100% sure that it does what it does. It says increases damage to all element damage by 7%. A lot of people are interpreting this as it increases your elemental damage. Some people are interpreting it as you deal increased damage to all elements by a certain percentage. That would be really weird. I don't know how they would calculate that. I don't think that's what it does. I think it increases elemental damage. Again, this one would have been better like a year ago when there were more elemental damage characters dominating timeline battle, and who knows what's going to happen later on. But for now, most characters are not dealing elemental damage for timelines. That's not really worth it. But then these two down here are quite nice, and they are easier to build because they're not mythic. Norman Osborn Ignore Dodge. This is really nice to check like Spider-Man and stuff like that. Angel, etc. And then Scarlet Spider increasing your HP. Don't gotta tell you why increasing your HP is really good. And then also Spider Woman. So again, it's kind of cringe. Most of the best, well, you can see there's 1 really good one in the free set. There's 2 really good ones in the paid set. And then there's 4 really good ones in the gambling set. Kind of no surprise here. But yeah, it is what it is, unfortunately. We're going to go on to the next one here. Again, you see a lot of repeats. You see Ignore Dodge, Decrease Pierce Damage. You see a lot of stuff here. But remember, you got to recontextualize it because we're not talking about PvP anymore. We're talking about World Boss. So this is PvE content. So in PvE content, things like physical attack are going to be a little bit better. All attack is really good. This one is actually a little bit more free-to-play friendly, the Iron Man set, because you have all attack. You also have HP, which is useful for not only buffing Hulk and maybe in the future Victorious' damage in World Boss, but also making your characters tanky. The Instinct Attack one, which is mythic and applies to all content, is also free. So that's quite nice. It's the mythic Iron Man. Increasing damage to mutants only applies to Jean for World Boss, right? Because of the Jean boss, so it's not really very good. Increasing all res is nice against Jean and Mephisto, but not that useful. And then the physical attack is okay. Again, it depends who you're using. But certainly for certain content, especially like Black Swan, where you're using mostly combat types who are all physical attack. If you're trying to climb Black Swan and you get that one upgraded, that would be quite nice to help you. And again, it's free, so it's not, you don't have to worry about spending crystals or spending money. From the Franklin set, you have decreasing damage from aliens. This is okay. You do hit a lot of aliens with, Null, Mephisto, Gore, Black Swan. You do hit a lot of aliens. Decreasing damage is good against them if you're struggling to survive, but it's kind of like a secondary thing. I don't think it's as important. Ignore Dodge is very nice. This one's very, very nice. It's also normal. I wish this was in the free set because this is really helpful, especially for newer players who don't have a lot of Ignore Dodge strikers, or they certain stages you just can't access Ignore Dodge strikers, especially if you're using villains. All of the Ignore Dodge strikers are heroes because they're all shield agents. So getting this up to like 10% is very, very useful for higher stages of especially Null and Gore, and I think Kang, who have a lot of dodge. I'm not 100% sure about Kang. Decreasing pierce damage received doesn't seem very good, to be honest. It's unclear how much pierce damage the bosses are doing. People can test it out. I could be wrong about this one, absolutely, but I'm not really too hype about it, too plussed. Increasing fire damage, again, specific characters, Ghost Rider, Jean, maybe Human Torch. That would be great for them, but it's going to be situational, contextual to your account. Increasing damage to females, only really Jean and Black Swan. I wouldn't go crazy about it. Increasing energy attack. This one is nice. 7% is nice. Most World Boss killers are energy attackers. So 7% is really good, but it is legendary, so it's going to be harder to upgrade because you're going to need other legendary dupes. And there aren't any legendaries that drop in the free sets except for Mary Jane, and I haven't even seen it once. So yeah, everything else from legendary is either Franklin's set or gambling only, so that is a little bit cringe. And then from the paid set, you do not have any crazy buffs from the Iron Man one because they put it in the free one, so you don't have to worry about that. Decreasing damage from bosses, this is better than decreasing it from aliens because this is going to hit all of the bosses, so it's actually decent. But again, if you're having survivability issues, there's probably something else you can do. You can upgrade your defense, you can upgrade your HP, you can play differently. I wouldn't, stress it too much. Increasing cold damage, basically only for Luna. I wouldn't stress about it. Wouldn't stress about these ones. Elemental damage in general, I would say is a lot better. And then increasing damage to aliens is pretty good, but honestly, the gambling ones from the Iron Man set are not really nice. It's kind of like the inverse of the Spider-Man set. And then we come to Shield. This one is by far the worst because of the content that it applies to, which is Dimension Rift. So honestly, my advice is don't upgrade any of these. Focus on the Iron Man, or focus on the Spider-Man, focus on the Iron Man, and leave this one until the very, very end. Really, there's only a couple that are genuinely good. I would say increasing damage to bosses is pretty good because it helps you blow up the boss at the end, and it applies to all of the stages. Increasing all attack again is good because it applies to any character you use from now into the future. If someone comes in to replace Rogue, if someone comes in to replace the person after Rogue, whatever. Ignore dodge could be good. Again, physical attack is conditional depending on the character, so I wouldn't highlight it. Decreasing damage is unnecessary. Any decreases in damage received is unnecessary for Dimension Rift. If you're dying in Dimension Rifts, you got a huge problem. Yeah, instinct attack in all content. This is the Nick Fury one. This is the Mythic one. This is gamble only. Yes, it's good because it applies to all content, so it applies to stuff outside of Dimension Rifts. But again, it's gamble only, so it's kind of lame. Decreasing damage is useless. This stuff is useless. And then the physical attack one is okay, but it's only for shield missions, and you already have this one, Phil Coulson. Actually, it's weird that they double dip with 2% and 7%. Let me double check that. Yeah, no, that's exactly what they do. So Phil Coulson increases your physical attack by 7%, and then Songbird increases your physical attack by 2%. That's really weird, and that honestly makes it less valuable. So yeah, this set in general, not too much to talk about because it's not very valuable. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I would focus most of my resources, all of my resources basically here, and I would focus on, just upgrading the yellow ones and the red ones for now, unless you want to do it another way, in which case you're more than welcome to. This is just my opinion. But yeah, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. I'll have a tier list ready for you guys on this in the future when I actually have the icons, hopefully before they add the next set. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the content. Let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.